Today on Core Conversations, we have Saul Choza. Saul is an authentic, passionate Pilates coach. He's one of Mari Winsor's first students, and we reflected on stories of Mari's principles of making the studio accessible and inclusive. We discussed what we could do to change racial biases in our Pilates studios, and the common theme of the week has returned: one big table. We need to make room at the table for representation for the people we are trying and hoping to connect with. That would be everybody. Enjoy the conversation.
I want to congratulate you for creating this amazing platform and just listening to people, because I think that is such an important key in our community, is to start listening to each other. It's such an important, it's a must. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And I need to thank you because you technically were one of my first guests.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely right. I was just waking up and I saw you, and I was just like, let me check this. Let me check Martin out. What does he have to say? And I love it. And since then you just been, moving up steady, and I congratulate you for that.
I really appreciate it. I thank you so much for that. You have been in the industry for a long time, and you've been respected and been doing just such great work. Like, you have a fantastic body of work. And when I'm just doing an IG Live 2 months ago and being in the space and just saying, okay, well, what are people doing? And you popped up on the live, and I believe it was Sonia saying, you need to talk to that gentleman. So I was like, okay. And from there, first thing in the morning, hat on, gotta rub your eyes, kind of West Coast. And we had this chat. And from there, since then, I've learned so much about you. I've seen your name pop up, and I just love the way that you teach. And it is so authentic. It is really good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You did say something. I think authenticity is such an important way of looking at life and the way you present yourself, because this is all you got,
Yes.
So people might not like it, but it's okay. You just have to be honest and just give yourself for who you are, and just let people decide for themselves whether it's for them or not.
If it's for them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just in case there's someone who doesn't know who you are, it's almost like redundant to say, but please just say your name and your business and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Saul Choza, and I own Windsor Choza Pilates. I've been teaching for 25 years. My beginnings were with Mari Winsor. She was the one that taught me Pilates and gave me my first job. I was in many of her videos, and before I could do that, I had to be certified by Romana, which I was certified in year 2000.
Okay.
I used to go to I still go to conferences, but at the time, I would experience all these different conferences, but I still needed more. I needed some meat and potatoes for what I was teaching. So I decided to do a 2-year course at UCLA Extension. And this is for, resistance training. It was a resistance training program. And, 4 years ago, I was ready to open my business, and here I am.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and you learned from Romana and from Mari Winsor as kind of your.
Correct.
Okay.
And, I've taken from many of the well-known instructors,
Yes.
And yeah, so here I am.
Do you get caught up in the classical versus contemporary dialogue a lot, or do you just kind of just push that aside?
Well, I try not to, because I think I message you in regards to movement.
Yes.
There are different languages of movement.
Yes.
So It's the way you understand movement that you're going to gravitate to a specific modality of movement. Let's say martial arts, you know, classical Pilates,
dance,
contemporary Pilates, dance. Exactly right. But I think all forms of movement work as long as you understand the biomechanics of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
You know,
it does.
I think you know, I can teach resistance training and still make you a flexible person.
Yes.
As long as I use, you know, the full range of motion of every joint in your system.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Right.
The reason why I gravitate more towards Pilates, classical Pilates, is because it's already a system that is developed.
Yes.
I call it resistance. It is a resistance training program, for that matter. You know?
Right. Yeah.
What's different about it is, you know, you emphasize the articulation of the spine and you guide it by the breath.
Right.
Right. So when you're constantly working on the articulation of the spine, you'll have a lot more mobility than if you don't.
Right.
Right. So I've decided to go with a classical Pilates route because it works for me, it works for my body. But I also have invested a lot of time and a lot of research because even now, I just picked up this book by, his name is Javier Perez Point. It's a biography of Joseph Pilates. To understand history, you're going to understand the work. So it's important. Whatever it is that you do, it's like you got to really dive into it and invest time and really study it in all forms. You know, not just book studying, but also within your body. You know, feel it in your body. How does this movement work? What is it about this movement that is healthy for you?
Yes.
You know, and
yes.
What it's important to know the difference between when I'm talking about a healthy movement, we need to understand the difference between form and function.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times coming from the classical world, we've been taught form.
Yes.
And function is a completely different animal. And I think that is something that we as classical Pilates instructors have to start investigating. What is the difference between form and function?
Yes.
I can explain it by this just the shoulder mobility. Just this example of shoulder mobility.
Okay.
As a classical dancer, you know, you're always taught to bring the shoulders down. So that's form to me. If I bring that form into Pilates, I am not honoring the functionality of the shoulder girdle.
You're not respecting the movement of the joint.
Exactly right.
Yes, yes.
Where it's like, I know a healthy shoulder, that scapula has to rotate upward.
Yes.
So if I'm teaching shaving and I'm teaching shoulders down, I'm not really teaching function. And if I don't, other problems can develop within our system.
Because that's a faulty movement pattern.
That's a faulty movement pattern.
And you're reinforcing a faulty movement pattern.
Right.
And then that person leaves the Pilates studio, goes to get their groceries, reaches to grab a bag from the car and hurts themselves.
They're done. Yes, exactly. And that can go the same thing for your hips. You know, we have limitations in terms of the range of motion. And a lot of times, because it's no fault to our masters or our, what do we call them these days?
Elders?
Elders, right. A lot of them came to the Pilates world with a certain understanding. Like Romana, she had a dance background. So, and because she had a dance background, she also had most of her clients who were dancers.
Right.
So for them, that leg to be up here was essential.
Yes.
But an average person, I mean, it can only be limited to 45 degrees from a standing position. The same thing to the front, 85 degrees. You can't lift it higher than that. And when we're pushing clients to go beyond that, we're really doing a disservice than actually helping them find their potential and their proper mobility.
Absolutely. And that lends to just a whole dialogue about an individualized approach and teaching to the body in front of you.
Yes. But we need to understand what those limitations are, you know, just from a scientific point of view.
That's exactly. We don't spend enough time on those fine details of the work.
Yes. And that's what fascinates me, and that's why I love Pilates, you know, and that's why classical Pilates, it's been such a journey for me, because those little nuances that I think are so important, you know, can really help people.
Right. But you can almost say, the way you have just described classical Pilates, it sounds almost new school at the same time, because what you're saying is, this is the system that I'm using, but now I've researched to understand that this classical Pilates exercise, the gold star isn't full range of motion. The gold star is understanding how the scapula moves, how the body in front of me moves, and what that person needs. That's not very classical. That's very respectful of the classical, but is very modern in his understanding of what we know now and how do we apply what we know that works from the past.
Right. And I think this is the interesting thing, is like, we have to really talk about what is classical. If you look at the archival,
here we go.
If you look at the archival stuff, you know, Joseph wasn't trying to, you know, create arabesque is when you extend that leg in the back. He wasn't trying to create the highest arabesque. No, he was just trying to make the body move in the most natural way.
For that body.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. He wasn't trying to create, you know, an ABT dancer. No, that was not his goal. I mean, if you look at the foot corrector, you know, it's completely functional. Yeah. And what's so great about it, it's not angular. The foot corrector, you can place it in so many positions to work for that specific body. If someone is knock knee, it's like working parallel is almost a disservice. So you have that ability to rotate that foot corrector and make the client work the rotator, hip rotators in a different way.
Yes.
You know, than you would on the reformer.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to go back to a physiology book after talking to you for like 10 minutes, because this is like, that's exactly it. There's such a sense of understanding the body and how the body moves biomechanically, like you said, that gives us permission to prescribe exercises in a different way. Because because I was taught one way to teach one exercise, then I feel like that's the way the exercise needs to go. But if I understand how the body works and how a joint moves and how this person individually needs their body to move a certain way for dance or for playing with kids or whatever, that will tell me that I have permission to tell this person, turn your foot out, turn your foot in, have your stance like this.
Right. Exactly. But we have to understand the rules. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
we can't prescribe, let's just turn him in for today. Let's turn those feet in for today. Oh, let's turn him out for tomorrow. It's like, why?
Why?
Yes, exactly. It's the question is why? When a teacher teaches me a class and I don't understand something and they're just saying, well, do it like this, I want to know why.
Yes.
Because if I understand the reason why, then I can really, internalize it and just make it my own. But if I'm just repeating something without really taking a look at the movement, then I'm just mimicking. And one of
Right.
the things that I teach my students is like, you have to create your own voice. Even as, even if I have Pilates instructors, I'm always reminding them that they have to create their own voice.
That's beautiful.
Creating your own voice makes you a very powerful instructor.
Yes. That reminds me, when I was in grade 8 or 9, I had this teacher. He's a physics teacher. I think it must have been grade 9. And he was absolutely brilliant, very, very brilliant. And one of the lines he used to say to us all the time is, memorize nothing, understand everything.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I agree. I hear it. Yes, absolutely.
Because when we come to the Pilates work and all we're doing is memorizing an order, we don't understand the why. We just don't understand the why. So we're better served to understand the work than to memorize the work.
Exactly. And that's why you have to, do research. That's why you have to study history. Who was Joseph Pilates? What were his intentions at the beginning? I mean, he didn't decide to come to New York and teach Balanchine, how to move properly. That was not his intention. He wanted to work with boxers.
Yes.
At one point, he even advertised his studio as a martial art and boxing studio.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
So, we have to look at those things. We also have to look at he left a lot of documentation. We have to look at the way he was moving, and what was it for,
Yes.
Why is the original 34 exercises linked the way they are? And can we change him up a little bit, to get the work out of our clients?
Right. Can we? Do we have permission to do that?
I think if you know the rules, of course.
Yes.
Like, for instance, I'll give you a good example. Sometimes, I have clients that are very active, but they have limitations in their bodies. And for a lot of people, one of the hardest things is to bring the legs over the head, the rollover.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So sometimes I just have them do open leg rocker, just to get that rhythm.
Yes.
Rollover.
Yes.
And then I have them do, one rollover, after doing 5 open leg rockers.
Yes.
And they understand the rhythm. They understand the position. But if I don't give them that exercise, they will never understand it, especially if you don't have the equipment.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And now I hear that through my personal training background and my sport conditioning background as movement prep.
Yes.
Right? So you're using one exercise as movement preparation for another exercise.
Correct. Exactly.
So where do we find that exercise somewhere else in the work to prepare them for the exercise we really want them to be able to do one day?
Right. So what is the most basic, in terms of rolling, what is the most basic rolling exercise?
It's
rolling like a ball.
Rolling like a ball. Okay. Yeah.
Right? So if we teach it properly, where you lift the hips off, into a somewhat of a tight ball shoulder stand, you're already, preparing the body for rollover. You're preparing it for jackknife. You're preparing it for corkscrew. All those things that you require to be on your shoulders, right? Or create a shoulder stand. Right.
Right.
But like I said, it's like we need to know it's more than just massaging the spine. Yeah. It's really sort of preparing the body for what's to come.
Yes. Yeah, that's so good. That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you talk about your time working with Mari Winsor?
I worked with Mari Winsor from 1995 to 2000, 2014.
Wow. Yes.
Mari she was the key to my success. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I think I was her favorite.
Yeah.
You know, she truly, you know, as I said, we started as a contemporary studio, and all her trainers were dancers. So when we taught bodies at that time, we were teaching them as we would teach a dancer. So it was a very interesting beginning of my career, where, you know, we were making up stuff that you would just, you know, grinch just to see the crazy stuff we were doing. You know, we were doing long short box,
Yes.
laying on our side in a fetal position and doing clams.
Right.
That's the crazy stuff we were doing. But it came a point where, you know, Mari wanted her studio to be a classical studio. And that's when Romana came into the picture. And Mari and Romana had a very special connection. And that was, it was beautiful to see. And we were spoiled. We were spoiled because, you know, Romana would come to LA, and, you know, we would learn from Romana herself. She was the one that...
Such a treat, eh?
It was such a treat. I do have a resistance training area in the corner.
Okay.
Because some of my clients do want to experience some weights. So I take the work from the Pilates into the resistance training. And it works quite well, actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And shout out to High Octane Training, where my studio is, for that same reason. I have access to a full service gym for that same reason, because the principles that you learn here translate to a better performance on the weight floor. More longevity, more injury prevention, stronger stabilizing muscles, all those different things.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
And they do complement each other. I mean, I don't like to mix them up. You know, if we're going to do resistance training for an hour, that's all we're going to do. Maybe at the end, I'll throw in, you know, the series of 5. But for the most part, you know, it's resistance training or Pilates. I don't combine them. But what I appreciate is that when we work, let's say, for 3 months on the resistance training area, and I bring it back to the Pilates area, it's a completely different game. It's a completely different understanding. And they thrive. They really do. I just recommend people to move.
Yes.
Period. You know?
I think I set you up for that answer. That's exactly it. We do just need to move.
Seriously, we need to move. However it is that we can move, you know, it's like we can do mat work, you know, and be okay and be fine, be healthy, functional people. I mean, it's you just have to move.
Yes.
And like I started talking about language, you know, it's like you want to pick a language that resonates with you, whether it's resistance training, whether it's Pilates, whether it's contemporary Pilates. It's like, as long as it inspires you to move, more power to the person that's, you know, doing it.
Campaign 0 coming up.
Yes, exactly. This Sunday, you know, what is it, June 14th?
14th, yeah.
Yes, Kathy Brosnash is creating this whole one-day event. Yeah. It's called Pilates Movement for Change. And that starts at 11:30, and that goes till 3:15. And this particular event is to raise funds for this amazing organization called Campaign 0. And basically, what this organization does, or their mission is to end police violence. Yeah. And I think it's important around this time, you know, to find ways to make a difference, to change the world.
Yes.
And I think, you know, yeah, I think the police department in all over our country needs to be reformed, you know. And
Absolutely.
we as citizens, you know, have to be involved in this new development of how police handle, you know, our citizens.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah. And I see the pictures that you've had, like, you know, where you know, you have your Black Lives Matter up in the studio wall in front and stuff, and doing your part in that way. And that is awesome. How do you recommend the Pilates community? This is our area, this is our sphere of influence. From your perspective, what are some of the things, active things we can do to affirm this new trend and bring awareness to this? Like, what can we do?
Well, first of all, we need to educate ourselves. You know, I'm reading this book called "So You Want to Talk About Race." I don't know if you've heard of it. The writer is Ajima Olu. I think I'm pronouncing it right. So one of the things that just really caught my attention, one of the things she said is, it's not enough to be down with the Black community. It's like we have to speak up for the Black community. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is it's such an important thing. You know, it's we can't stay quiet anymore. You know, and I'm not just talking. I think it should be all around. You know, I think we should speak for everyone, because we all bleed the same. We all have feelings. We're all, you know, we all hurt. I mean, I was very touched by you a couple of days ago. I think it was it Kevin that you were speaking? Right. Yes. That, I mean, here you are creating an amazing platform, and still people, you know, they have something negative to say. Do you know what I mean? We need to stop that all around. We need to support each other. We need to elevate each other in whichever way we can. And one of the things that I mentioned to you, you know, on our messages is we need to start listening to each other. Not pick each other apart, but listen. It's like, what is the message? What is the message that you're sending? You know? And by the way, you're sending a beautiful message. I'm not sure why people have to say otherwise, because I hear you loud and clear.
It's, you know, sometimes everyone has their part to play. And when last hour when I was talking with Alexa, we're sharing that sometimes when we do our part, people perceive that as not enough. So the daggers fly not because we're doing the wrong thing, but we're not doing enough of the right thing.
Okay. Well, Rome was not created in a day.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's little steps that you do that would, you know, create this big mountain.
Right.
And if we start just by educating, I think educating ourselves, like I said, if we start by educating ourselves, that's number one. Ask questions. I mean, when the marches started happening, I was just asking questions because I wanted to understand, where are we going to take this? I mean, the marches give us a voice. Okay, so now that we have a voice, what are we going to do to make a change in all our communities? You know, how can we help each other? Right. So listening, I think it's such an important thing. And the thing that I keep hearing is that our the Black community is not being represented in the Pilates community. So the question is, why is it not represented in the Pilates community? What is it that's preventing from what is preventing the Black community, you know, being part
Yeah.
of? Yes. And I'm asking you this because, you know, I'm naive. You know, it's like when going back to Mari Winsor. I mean, Mari Winsor, you know, she was amazing. She was amazing. She was inclusive, and every, you know, in her studios, everyone was represented. You know,
Yes.
Mexicans. You know, I'm sorry. Asians. I mean, Latin Americans. I mean, everyone was there. Everyone was at the. You were asking about Mari Winsor and her studio at the beginning. Everyone was there.
Yes.
But I think what made it possible is these trainers didn't have to jump hoops to get a $4,000, $5,000 certification. You know.
There you go. That's part of it. The economics of it definitely
Right.
is a major part.
She saw potential. She saw how they moved as dancers, and she was like, "You want to come and work at my studio?" And that's how her studio was created. You know what I mean?
Yes. That's, you know, it's when you say it like that, it is that simple, because the best instructors, the best Pilates coaches that are out there aren't the ones that have the most education. It's the ones who have chased after further education, the ones who have sought after people that they identify with, that their teaching styles resonate with, and they've just wanted more.
Right.
And if I look even at my own career path in the fitness industry, my degree is in a different field than human sciences. I took a weekend course in personal training, and after that, I was mentored by people. I got certifications by certain people. I followed after people. I offered to co-teach at workshops. I continued to chase after knowledge and follow people that had what I wanted, instead of going and getting a master's degree in biomechanics to become a personal trainer. And when you talk about Mari Winsor and she's seeing someone as potential, saying, "Hey, do you want to come follow me?" I wonder how much further we would be forward in this Pilates community if we were saying more of that "come follow me" to people that had potential.
I think it would be amazing. I think more possibilities would be open for everyone, of course. But I think we are so caught up with the elitists, you know, oh, I come from so-and-so's background, or, you know, it's more in fact, it's like, you know, it doesn't matter where you come from. What really matters is like your dedication to the work, you know,
Yes.
dedication of not just understanding it, you know, intellectually, but also understanding it in your body.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. But yeah, we have to find a way where it's accessible to everyone.
Yes.
What does that look like? I want to know. What do you think that looks like?
I was hanging on, waiting for you to say what that meant. I was like, oh, he's gonna ask me. Like, accessible. How? Yes. How do we get more people into our studios? We have a beautiful opportunity. This quarantine has opened up the validity of online training, because I don't know about you, but everyone that I know that's been in fitness for a long time has said, one day I'm going to do something online, and never got around to it. And then the world shut down, and then you were forced to go online. And now people are seeing the value of this online. So I think that we're positioned in a great way to make Pilates more accessible, because I can offer my $120 an hour session in person for $10, $15, $20, $5, $10, $15, $20 online, and introduce it to people. And some people will stay there and just continue to take that free class, or that minimal payment class. And other people will be like, aha, this is what I want to do as a career. And I'm going to reach out to Saul and find out what he does. And I'm going to find, and it's going to be that spark for someone else. And that someone else is going to have their following, and it's going to expand from there. And it's all leveraged by the fact that we have this online presence now that we didn't have in the same way before.
Right, exactly. Right. So going back to what you're saying, it's like it is more accessible, but there's a lot of people that don't like that Pilates is more accessible now within our community. So we have that duality, you know,
Right.
because when the quarantine started, I opened my studio and I was giving literally a class a day, you know, for about 2 months. And
Yes.
nobody was coming to me directly and telling me, hey, Saul, why are you doing this? You're diminishing our value as instructors by giving free classes. You know, they were not saying that directly towards me, but I was listening, you know, and on the sidelines, people were upset because I was doing this. But we have to start thinking more about just ourselves and start creating a community and really invite people in. And maybe that is a way we can start making a difference, you know. Offer a free class, you know, once a month, or whatever you can do to make a difference in someone's life and also inspire. I got so many feedback from these free classes. I mean, people were very thankful because the quarantine is it's a very tough experience. I mean, we are social people. We need to be
Yes.
around other people. We need to, you know, have communication. We need tactile. I mean, we thrive under that.
Yes.
And
It's very mentally taxing this time because we're deprived of those touches.
right.
Hmm.
But just knowing there was someone there, you know, at 11:30, you know, every day made a difference to so many people. And we weren't just giving a class, we were actually talking to people like you're talking to me. You know, we would have
Yes.
5 minutes at the beginning of our session,
Hmm.
and, you know, we would ask how people are doing, you know, uh, how we can, you know, make this day a better day. And it really worked and it resonated for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And it's if you want to just talk business sense, that it's a great strategy. Like that is free advertising. That's not money that you're spending to be out there. People are now seeing what you do. They see the man behind this brand and I got so much value out of just watching those and just your little quick talks at the beginning and like you're quick to say hello to everyone who popped on and it was interactive. It wasn't just looking at a screen. Like you really made those interactive.
Yes, and thank you. And it's important. I think it's very important to have those moments. And can you imagine if all teachers did that? All the Pilates instructors did that, like how
Wow.
how we could affect the world. And obviously, you know, everyone relates to different people different,
Yes.
you know.
Right.
But if we have the whole Pilates culture, just giving a free class, do you know how many people you can touch and inspire to follow your path?
Absolutely. Yes. And Leslie Logan, her husband Brad, said it best. He goes, there's 4 billion people on this planet. We can give a free class and still make our money touching those who want more. It's
True.
it's it's not saturated by any means.
No, it's not. And everyone brings something to the table.
Yes.
Everyone has something special,
Right.
but you have to allow it to come out.
Too is partnering with other instructors because yeah, some instructors don't want to be in the light. They don't want to have an IG free class and they don't want to do a Zoom class, but you can join their classes. You can co-teach classes. There's other ways to stay connected and to present your talents as
Back
well.
to how I mean, the way our country is right now, can we be more inclusive?
Yes.
So, what is your idea? I mean, you've been talking to a lot of people, you know,
Yes.
on this platform. What do you think is where is the starting point to be more inclusive and have more representation? within the Black
Yes.
community. Yes.
I love the way that Kevin said it on Monday. I sent him a message before I went on live today. When he said, if there is a person sitting at the table and there's 3 other seats, stand up and allow someone to have a seat at the table so we can all sit at this one big table, so we can all eat together. That analogy resonated with me so much because it comes back to that representation. So if you are a person that has some influence, I may say to you, if you're a white person, you have a huge following and you sit on a board for a Pilates organization and you have a reputable business and you have all these different things, you need to allow someone, a person of color, a Black person, whoever, to have a seat at that table. Because when the representation is there at that table, then you can change your laws and you can change your bylaws, you can change your statutes that allow more people to be able to get a certification, to be able to present at a workshop, to be able to open a business, to be able to get a loan to buy equipment, whatever it is. But until we have a seat at the table, we can't really address what the barriers to moving forward are. And that's a real hypothetical answer, but I think it comes back to that hashtag one big table. This table is big enough that I can have a seat amongst a board of directors, which are all white, and say, you know, this is the opportunity and this is the gap in serving our community. I think we need to think about doing this as well. Instead of it being 12 white people on a board saying, okay, I think this is how we should do something about racism. No, let's bring someone into the room so they could actually give you their perspective from being on the front lines. So I think it comes back to having a seat at the table as our first step.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you. And I love that analogy. And I can tell you from my experience, I mean, I still don't think I'm sitting at that table, but a lot of people think that I'm sitting at that table.
Okay.
Myself, as a Mexican American and gay, a lot of times I had to look the other way to be sitting at that table.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's how you get to the table.
That's how you get to the table. Right. And I'm just thinking it out loud. Please forgive me if I sound ignorant.
No, go ahead.
Or if I'm offensive. I think there's a lot of people that once they're at that table, because they work so hard, they don't want to share the spotlight.
We talked about that in the last hour. So true.
You did.
Yes. It's a reality because you fight so hard to get there.
Yes. And so we need to change that mentality. And like you said, it's like there's plenty of room for everyone to sit at the table. Yeah. But we just have to be open and move from your heart instead of your brain. And I think once we start, moving more from the heart, I think there'll be more people sitting at that table.
Yes, you're almost making me cry again. This is a tough week, man. Because that's it. That really is it. And I think that when we're at that table, like you said, sometimes we've worked so hard to get there, and we need to allow more room at that table for other people to get there and to be able to celebrate those differences. I've said in the past that racism, from my perspective, a lot of times it is just rooted in selfishness. And that selfishness is, I want to be with people that look like me, that think like me, that sound like me, and I don't want to be uncomfortable with people who sound different, who look different, who believe different things. So the selfish side of me wants to surround myself with people that look exactly like me, so no one else is welcome.
Yeah.
And we need to embrace and to celebrate those differences if there's going to be any change made.
Right. We need to listen. Right. we need to listen to what everyone has to say, and not just dismiss them because of, you know, the color of the skin or where they come from. Yeah, I mean, I've knocked on a couple of doors, you know, in the Pilates community, and I really think because of the color of my skin, I was not received.
Yes.
Yeah, and like you said, it's probably just selfishness. So how do we eradicate selfishness? I guess by example, because that's how we do, right?
Yep.
It's just give unconditionally, and you know, and just let it go. Yeah.
Yes. We're almost done this hour.
I know, it sucks.
It's so bad. But one of the things that you said, and one of the things that that Maria said yesterday about Kathy Grant, I think that there is power in sharing their stories. And I would encourage you, Saul, to share more of her stories of diversity and share more of her stories of making her studio a welcome place. Because we are, in a sense, reinventing the wheel right now for no reason. When we share Kathy Grant's stories of having a diverse studio, Joseph Pilates had a studio in a really high-end department store, and Kathy Grant said, "I'll teach here if my students can come." And then you have the richest of the richest socialites, and then the starving of the starvingest artists, you know, doing Pilates side by side in this space because she made space at the table for these people. Mari Winsor, you're saying that she had Latin Americans and she had these dancers and she had all these different people in. They've done it before, and we're not hearing their stories of how this was a non-issue. You just had everyone in your studio. I think we need to reinforce and reshare those stories again and again and again to say that, like, this isn't the Martin Reid idea to have a diverse studio. This idea is way older than me, and it's been done with success in the past. And we need to come back to what they're doing and make that the standard.
That's a beautiful beginning.
Yeah. You're doing it, man.
So if anybody who wants to come and join at my table, everyone's welcome.
Amazing.
Definitely, yes.
Yes, man, so rich. It's so good talking to you again. I completely cheering for yourself and everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for everyone watching. And I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
I'll sign you off here. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for joining us today on Core Conversations. This organic platform has been made possible by amazing people like yourself. So if you're a Pilates instructor or a movement specialist of some kind and you want to be a guest, please message me. If you're in some other field and the messages just resonate with you, message me. I'd love to have you on. All of our messages connect, and for some reason, they all help us in this battle. We're all in this game together, so I'd love to hear from you. Let your words be life to someone else. Check out our website, personalvictory.ca. Click the Core Conversations page to see who our upcoming guests are, and I will see you next time on Core Conversations.